Hello everyone, Ron again, and in this video we're going to talk about the key signature and the circle of fifths. Action.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
So let's start by defining what the key signature is. If the time signature tells you the information about the time format when you're looking at a piece of music, then the key signature is going to tell you what key you're in. And it's simple, but it's important to know that whatever key you're in is relative to the scale that is being played. So the key of C means you're playing the C major scale. So the way that the key signature is expressed is it's expressed as a number of sharps or flats. And it's going to be expressed as the same number of sharps or flats that are in the scale. For example, the key signature of A major is going to have 3 sharps because A major has 3 sharps. The 3 sharp notes are C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp. So this is why I was telling you in the previous video that it's important for you to know, and it behooves you to know, how many sharps or flats are in each scale if you want to read music, and if you want to communicate to someone what the scale degrees are in such a way that you only use every letter one time, so it will be less confusing. Now, because the key of A major has 3 sharps, it would tell you that while reading music, C, F, and G will be sharp whenever they are played, and the rest of the notes are going to be natural. So today I'm going to do something different, and we're just going to go to the internet. So if you go to Google and you type in the grand staff, you go down and you find a picture, then you can click on whichever picture you like. Then you can visit the website. I did it earlier, so the picture is still there. So we are on Music Theory 517.weebly.com. So credit where credit is due, because surprisingly, I don't have like a transposition software, not transposition. I don't have a transcribing software to create sheet music with. So this is for visual representation. So if we zoom in, you'll notice that you see the treble clef and you see the bass clef. When you're reading piano sheet music, the treble clef tells you what you're playing with your right hand, and the bass clef tells you what you are playing with your left hand. And if you see these independently, it means that an instrument is playing in a higher range if they have just one staff that has a treble clef, and a bass instrument is going to have a bass clef because it's a bass instrument. But you'll notice, especially if you look around here, where middle C is denoted, that each note is only going to have one space or one line. So you can see like F right here is in the space that is above the 5th line on the treble clef scale. Now, when you are reading music, if this was in the key of A, then every time you saw, you can see that each note is only going to have one line or one space. So if it was the key of A, the notes that are sharp are C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp. So if you were reading it, then every time you saw a C, you would play C sharp. Every time you saw an F, you would play F sharp. And every time you saw a G, you would play G sharp. So that is the reason why you have to understand which notes are sharp or flat in a scale if you want to read music, because that's the way it's going to be notated. You may ask yourself, why don't they just write the letter? But I suppose even if they did write the letter, it wouldn't be as efficient for the purpose of you understanding how many sharps or flats are in the scale. So it's like telling you that too. It's not just telling you what key it is. So let's consider the key of F major, right? F major has one flat. And if you look here, we can zoom into this too. This is the circle of fifths. And this is Wikipedia, but I can tell you that this is accurate what you're seeing here. This is actually a very comprehensive graphic. So you can see there's one flat, and that's the key of F major. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. So if you saw a note that was in the space for B, then you would play B flat instead. Now let's go back to the circle of fifths and let's look for C sharp. C sharp major has 7 sharps, which sounds crazy. And you're like, why is that? But it's because it has F and F sharp, and it has C and C sharp. So if you look here, you have F, but there's no line or space for F sharp. So if you want to show them both, you have to use one line or space to show F, and you have to use another line or space to show F sharp. You have to use F to express F sharp, and F natural can be expressed as E sharp. So if it was on this line and the key was C sharp major, where everything is a sharp, you know that E is going to be E sharp, so you're going to play an F natural, because the line for F is going to be used for F sharp. The same way, this line for C is going to be used for C sharp, so the space for B is B sharp, which is C natural. And I feel like that's easier to wrap your mind around when you actually see it visually rather than it just being explained. So, credit to the website. musictheory517.weebly.com. And awesome graphics. Thank you for that. So if we go back to Wikipedia for the circle of fifths, I was reading this earlier and it's actually helpful too. So in music theory, the circle of fifths is a way of organizing the 12 chromatic pitches as a sequence of perfect fifths. The chromatic scale just means that it's a scale composed of every white key and every black key. To put it simply, it's just all the notes. If C is chosen as a starting part, the sequence is C, G, D, A, E, B, F sharp, G sharp, A flat, E flat, B flat, F, and then it will go back to C, as you can see. Continuing the pattern from F returns the sequence to its starting point of C. This order places the most closely related key signatures adjacent to one another. It's usually illustrated in the form of a circle. Now, I didn't even think about that when I was writing down what I was going to talk about. But the purpose of the key signature is to show you the key. And the circle of fifths purpose is like what times tables are in algebra. It's like a representation of something that's super basic, and you're going to know how to do it without having to think about it much later after you start to practice this idea and you memorize and stuff like that. So the purpose is to show you what the key signatures look like. So you can see this treble clef here. It's got one sharp that tells you that's the key of G. C major has got no sharps. It's got the natural symbol. D major has got 2 sharps. A major has got 3 sharps. So on and so forth. And what I was talking about in the previous video, where you could have some keys that are represented as flats as well, is displayed down here. That's why I like this graphic. So if you look at A flat major, it can only be 4 flats. If you look at E major, it can only be 4 sharps. But if you look at C sharp major, these both relate right here because it can be D flat major, and it can be 5 flats, or it can be 7 sharps. So that's the idea. If you look at F sharp major, it can be 6 sharps, or it can be 6 flats. If you look at B major can be 5 sharps, or it can be 7 flats. So these are the takeaways, and this is what the circle of fifths is going to show you primarily. And as Wikipedia says, it does show you which scales are most closely related, because if you were playing C major, you could just play a note from the key of G major or F major, And you can make that work in the context of the music piece that you are creating. So that goes back to the idea of accidentals. You could play something from G major that's different, which would be F sharp, or B flat if it's F major, and you can make that work even if it's in the key of C major. So you would just have a sharp in it, in the music next to that note, to show that it is sharp or is flat outside of what the scale degree normally is. So the third reason that the circle of fifths is useful is because you may want to modulate while you are composing or writing some piece. Now, it's good to understand that modulate is one of those words that has different meaning in different contexts. So to modulate when you're talking about scales means to switch from one key to another and play something different. This differs from transposing because transposition is when you play the same song in a different key. So if I play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in C major and then I play it in G major, that's a transposition. But if I start playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in C major and halfway through I modulate and I switch to G major, but I continue to play until the end of the song without repeating the same part, that's a modulation. A modulation differs from transposition because you're not necessarily repeating the same thing. You're going to modulate and play something different, but you're going to switch key at that point and play the new thing in a different key. Certain chords are going to resolve, and resolving means that it releases the tension that you feel. So some chords like augmented chords or minor chords have some tension, and certain notes have tension with each other. If you have a keyboard, press the notes B and C back and forth and keep on doing that, and you're going to notice that you're going to feel some type of tension. It's going to be creepy. The same thing happens with E and F. And if you have a tritone like between F and the same type of thing is going to happen. That's called dissonance. So to resolve that, when you get to the end of the song, usually you bring the song back to the tonic. So you would be coming back to C if it was the key of C major. And there are certain notes that, quote unquote, want to resolve to the tonic, or they want to resolve to other notes. And we will get into talking about that, but just understand that the circle of fifths helps you to modulate because they're going to modulate usually a fifth down or a fourth up, I believe it is. So if it's C, it's going to modulate a fourth up, which is actually to F. But we will go over the intervals and I will discuss that in more length in a different video because it would make sense to do a video about modulation. So with that being said, that's all I have for this video. And if you watched until the end, then I thank you for watching. If you decide to go check out this website, they've got some good stuff here. You can see there's different lessons. And I was just reading this page because I was looking at like the graphic that's here, and it's pretty good. It gives you some like comprehensive information. So I'm sure the rest of it is good also. So if you decide to check it out, then I think I would recommend it. Also, if you're looking at Wikipedia and you see this picture is good. And this information that's right here as of the time of recording is useful. And it's true, regardless of what people say. Because I mean, like I learned this somewhere else. People don't really trust Wikipedia. But I could tell you that from understanding this already that this is correct. So if you made it to the end of the video, then I thank you for watching and have an awesome day as usual. Peace.